When I started personal training 10 years ago, I wish somebody had come to me and said that just like real estate, personal training is about location, location, location. Not only in terms of geography, but also in terms of the kind of gym that you're actually situated in. So in this video, I'm going to break down the considerations that you need to make when it comes to choosing where you do your personal training. If you're new here, my name is Alexander Lyon. I've been a personal trainer in central London for about 10 years now. I currently earn about £90,000 a year working 3 days a week. And on this channel, I help personal trainers to make more money and have more impact with their clients. So if that sounds good to you, then hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell, and let's get into it. When I qualified as a personal trainer, it didn't even cross my mind where I should go, not in terms of geography or what kind of gym. I just wanted to be a PT. I thought it doesn't matter where I go because I'll make it work because I'm me, right? Cocky, right? I eventually went to Pure Gym in Acton, which is in West London. And it's not the worst area of London by any means, but it's definitely not a high income area. It's not an area that personal trainers go to service wealthy clients. In my first 6 months in that gym, I earned £3,000. That's £500 a month. If you know anything about London, you know a drink costs £15, right? I had no help from like parents or somewhere to fall back on. I was fully on my own, paying rent to a landlord. And well, I say I was paying rent to a landlord. I was actually 2 months behind on my rent. Right? Because I couldn't afford it. I didn't have enough clients. I didn't have enough revenue to make the whole thing work. Anyway, long story short, I was able to consolidate the debt by taking a loan out, and then I went to another gym near Notting Hill, right? Anytime Fitness in Ladbroke Grove. In my first month in Anytime Fitness Ladbroke Grove, I made £5,000. Now, let's just pause for a second here. February, I earned 500. March, I earned 5,000. Different gym, different geography. So what were the key differences and what had I overlooked when making my initial decision? Now, eventually, when a lot of my ignorance faded, I realized that I wasn't necessarily hot shit. I'd actually just made a smarter decision in terms of where I PT'd, right? And it came down to 6 main things. 6 main things that you need to look at yourself in terms of where you're going to PT and have these 6 points of information before you engage. And I'm going to break them down for you now. The first one, how many members does your gym have? This is me in the interview. How many members, right? When we compare the Pure Gym I was in to the Anytime Fitness, Pure Gym had 2,000, Anytime Fitness had 2,500. So an extra 500 members. So that's the first point. There are more members here, so it's more likely that more people are going to do personal training just on the numbers, right? That's the first thing. The second thing, how many personal trainers were in each one? We had Pure Gym over here with 2,000 members and 16 personal trainers, whereas Anytime Fitness had 2,500 members and only 4 personal trainers. So now we're looking at the PT to member ratio. The PT ratio for Pure Gym was 1 PT for every 125 members. For Anytime Fitness, it was 1 PT for every 625 members. So suddenly you've got way more opportunity to actually sell yourself as a trainer. You don't stand a chance over here, right? I didn't know that when I first started, but looking back now, I never stood a chance. There was no chance I was ever going to build the business I thought I was going to here. The fourth major difference, in Pure Gym, there was only 1 personal trainer on full rent. The other 15 trainers, including myself, were trading hours for rent, right? So you kind of do grunt work around the gym for 15 hours a week, and then you don't have to pay rent. Seems smart, looking back, not so much, but I'll speak about that in another video. In Anytime Fitness, out of the 4 trainers they had, all 4 are on full rent, which means they all have client bases. Otherwise, they couldn't afford the rent. So that's another great sign that I should have taken notice of. The fifth one, in Pure Gym, no sales training for management. In Anytime Fitness, loads of sales training for management. Why? Because in Anytime Fitness, we're only paying full rent, which means that the gym has an incentive, albeit not a massive one, they have some incentive to actually help you because they want, at that time, my rent was £700 a month in this Anytime Fitness. So they want that £700 a month, right? Of course they do. That's like 9 grand a year nearly, 8.5, 9 grand a year. They want that revenue. So if they can help you a little bit with some sales training, then great. I wasn't paying Pure Gym anything. In fact, if anything, I was leeching off their business, right? So what's their incentive to help me? There isn't any. There isn't any monetary incentive. And the sixth thing to consider, the price, the membership price for a contract to be a member of this Pure Gym at the time was £16.99. And Anytime Fitness here was £50. So when you put these 6 things together, it starts to paint a very clear picture of where you should and where you shouldn't try and PT, right? Now, don't get me wrong, it's not necessarily a case of you get to take all your picks of the gyms and then you can choose the best model that suits you. Sometimes you just have to make a shitty situation work. That's just how it is, right? But ideally, if you can have this information before you make a decision about where you train, both in terms of geography, but also in terms of the kind of gym that you're in, that should stand you in much better stead to then go on and have a more successful career. The thing that you have to consider is that a lot of people, remember, 80% of trainers go out of business in their first year. And these are the kind of oversights that we make. And I put myself in that category because I did the same thing. I just managed to get away with it because my second gym really popped off. But had I not realized that quick enough, I would also be out of business. So we need to be grown-ups and mature and really analytical in our thinking when we decide where to set up a business, because it is that, it's a business, right? So you have to take it seriously and treat it like an adult. Like I always say, I'm in a great space to PT. I'm in central London. A lot of you won't be in central London, so you don't have the pick of 10, 15, 20 gyms on your doorstep, right? You may have the option of 2 or 3, maybe only 1. But regardless, you need to know what the PT model is. You need to know these things about the gym and how it's laid out. You need to get an understanding of how the other trainers are doing there. Ideally, from the trainers themselves. Yeah, because management will always paint a picture that, oh yeah, they're doing great. They're all on 30, 40 sessions a week. Yeah, they're all doing 10 grand a month. Usually that's not the case. Usually the truth is somewhere in the middle. So try, if you can, to get the information from the horse's mouth as well, so you get a better understanding of your chances there. But regardless though, wherever you are, London, Newcastle, New York, it doesn't matter, right? Personal training is a luxury to most people. And it doesn't matter how good of a trainer and how good of a salesperson you are. If you position yourself in front of people that cannot afford to spend on luxuries, then you're never going to do well. It doesn't matter how good you are. So it's really important to have this information before you then go engage. I hope this video was helpful and you got some value from it. If you did, please consider subscribing and hitting the little bell at the bottom. My name is Alexander Lyon and I will see you in the next one.